Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT. I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, where's my brethren all around the world watch this video? Hope you're having a great day today as tuning in. Make sure you do yourself a damn favor, hit the subscribe button, and surely you will not be disappointed. Now, we have breaking news coming out the world of boxing that Luke Campbell versus Vasily Lomachenko, just out of the blue, has been ordered by the WBC. Now, this is very, very odd to me because I really, and for those of you who, you know, might be older than me and been around longer than I have, I want you guys to remind me of a time where a guy who was a unified champion with two other sanctioning bodies was part of another sanctioning body ordering a fight for a vacant belt. I've never seen this before. So it's quite interesting to say the least. It really is interesting to say the least that Lomachenko is getting this fight. There's positives and negatives to this, like anything else. We'll start with the positives. I think it's good that Lomachenko got the fight because he'll have a chance to get a third belt and move closer to his goal of becoming an undisputed champion. So I think that's pretty cool. To be fair, as far as the fight belts aside, the Luke Campbell Lomachenko fight, I don't see it as much of a competitive fight. I mean, I know they're gonna sell it and they're gonna market this fight as Olympic champion versus Olympic champion, but you know, Luke Campbell is not on that level as a pro. I'm sorry to tell you, he's not on that level. And Lomachenko will outclass him on the night. It won't be as bad as Anthony Crawler because I think Luke Campbell's got a lot more quality to him than Anthony Crawler did on the night, and you know, hopefully he doesn't fight as scared as Anthony Crawler did. And likely this will probably be Lomachenko's first fight in the UK, so who knows? Maybe the fact that Lomachenko's going to a new venue, a new place to fight, maybe it buys him some time in the ring, but eventually Lomachenko will settle in and will stop him and just dominate him, you know, straight up. So, you know, the negatives are the fights were not going to be competitive. The positives are Lomachenko is probably going to get another belt. And then also it sets up, you know, a kind of a mini tournament of sorts in the WBC as Zaur Abdullah will be fighting Devin Haney in one fight, and then Teofimo Lopez will be fighting Javier Fortuna in another fight, and then the winner, you know, and the winners will meet in the final eliminator for that WBC belt. So we might just be seeing Teofimo Lopez versus Devin Haney a lot sooner than we think. It is worth noting that Teofimo Lopez was also ordered by the IBF, and he's fighting in a final eliminator on I think July 19th or something like that. July 19th versus Hatanaki from Japan. So who knows? He might not even go the WBC route. He might go the IBF route, try to go fight Comey. If he beats Comey, and then before you know it, Teofimo Lopez might just be the golden ticket to undisputed at lightweight, and Lomachenko will have no other choice but then to fight him because he'll be in prime position. So the plot's definitely thickened at lightweight. The interesting things are happening. But I've never seen this before, where a guy who is a champion with two other sanctioning bodies gets called for for the fight to be ordered for a vacant title in another sanctioning body. I've never seen it before. You know, I think it's a good move because, and it's something I'm surprised hasn't happened more in boxing because, you know, if this were to happen more often, then there'd be more unification. There's more unification fights, there'd be more undisputed fights, and there'd be more clarity to what's going on and who really is the best at these divisions. But then, as we know, boxing, as many times as I've said, boxing oftentimes is a business dressed up as a sport. And a lot of times what winds up happening is, you know, if there's clarity in the division, there's not as much sanctioning fees to pay, and that's not, sometimes clarity in the weight classes isn't what's best for business. And when I say business, I mean for the business of the sanctioning bodies and for their own selfish interests. So that's just calling a spade there. But Eddie Hearn also responded to this, and basically he backed his fighter Luke Campbell, and saying that he could basically go in there and beat Lomachenko. So I'll read you guys what Eddie Hearn said. Here's what he said verbatim. I quote, "I can't say I agree with the WBC's decision, but Luke Campbell versus Lomachenko is on and likely for the UK. Two Olympic champs, and I believe Luke can do it." So there you have it. Eddie Hearn, even he's saying that you know, he doesn't agree with the WBC's decision, and obviously he could be speaking from a place of a bit of selfish interest because he just signed Devin Haney. Maybe he was hoping for Devin Haney to get the fight versus Luke Campbell, and then for Devin Haney to get a world title, because then he could really start pushing Devin Haney here in the States as a undefeated world champion and building him on the DAZN platform. So maybe that's why he doesn't agree. I don't know why, but he doesn't agree with it nonetheless. And Luke Campbell is going to be up against it. I really don't see a scenario where Luke Campbell's going to beat Lomachenko. Like he's a good fighter, he's a tough fighter, but he's not gonna outbox Lomachenko. He's not gonna outskill Lomachenko. So really, as far as I'm concerned, Lomachenko is just gonna walk right through Luke Campbell. It'll be an easy fight again for Lomachenko, and that's fair enough for now because after this, hopefully he fights like Lopez or Comey or someone like that. But it also is worth noting that Bob Arum or Mike Coppinger reported that Bob Arum and Eddie Hearn are right now, as we speak, working out a deal for Lomachenko and Campbell to fight in the UK. So this will be pretty big for Lomachenko, the brand. The brand. I mean, I know in the grand scheme of things that doesn't really mean a damn thing, but for the Lomachenko brand, this will be a big fight because it'll be his UK debut, and it'll be him going over to one of boxing's most rambunctious and rabid fan bases, and that is the great UK fans. And as you guys know, I have a lot of love for my UK fans because you guys show me lots of love here on True School Sports. The UK fans love boxing, they support boxing, and it's going to be quite an event. So I look forward to seeing that fight whenever it does take place. We're looking at probably September because that's when Lomachenko said his hand will be healed and he'll be boxing in September. But it's got to suck if you're Devin Haney because you sign with Eddie Hearn to hopefully get a world title shot. Kind of bring down the political door of getting a Luke Campbell fight. And then now Luke Campbell's fighting Lomachenko, and then your road to a title is going to be a lot harder than it was. So now Devin Haney is going to have to prove himself, in a major way. And all the things he was saying in his press conferences and in his interviews, he's going to have to really prove them because he might just be fighting Teofimo Lopez very, very soon, and within the next, 6 to 9 months. Out of necessity, if he really wants to fight Lomachenko and get to that top level of boxing and get the WBC strap, he might have to fight Lopez. I don't know how this tournament is going to work because they're saying they're going to have a 4-man tournament for the WBC, but I don't know how it's going to work because Lopez is already fighting in a final eliminator. So are they going to have Lopez fight Javier Fortuna in September and then have him fight an eliminator in early 2020? I don't know. The timelines don't quite match up, so I don't know how that's going to work from the Lopez side of things, but what I'll say is this too: the WBC is they're at it again. I know there's some good things about this and there's some bad things about this, but let's call a spade a spade. The WBC is on some straight BS again because they have a history of making things up as they go along. The WBC, like, if you guys remember a couple years ago, Luis Ortiz had that whole thing with the pain medication, right? Then the WBC removed it from the rankings and they called the Wilder fight off. Then they had Wilder fight Stavern, who had been inactive for almost 2 years, and the WBC broke its own rules to get Wilder that fight. That's a fact, because I believe the rankings state that if you're inactive for a year, you get removed from the rankings. But they took a guy who was inactive for almost 2 years and put him in a fight with their champion. So they've shown a history of making things up as they go along, and then it was for weeks and weeks, the talk was that, okay, Haney's ranked number 4 or whatever it was, and Luke Campbell was ranked number 2 or whatever. They're going to fight each other, and that's going to be the WBC final eliminator. But all of a sudden, Devin Haney just gets stiff armed to the side, and Luke Campbell's fighting Lomachenko. So, not really a fan of that, but that's another example of the WBC making things up as they go along. So, yeah, that's the news. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. But Vasily Lomachenko will, in fact, be fighting Luke Campbell for the vacant WBC title as he looks to become a 3-belt holder at lightweight, holding the WBO, WBA, and now trying to get the WBC belt before he ultimately tries to get the undisputed belt. Teofimo Lopez, man, I think he's the X factor. He's the interesting one in all this because he's supposed to fight in the IBF final eliminator in July, which means that if he wins that in the 4th quarter of this year, he could potentially be fighting Richard Comey for the IBF belt. And then if he wins it and then Lomachenko wins this fight, it sets up for a massive undisputed lightweight unification fight in early 2020, and the timelines would match up great. So, interesting things in the lightweight division. The plot is thickening as we speak. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments down below about Lomachenko, Luke Campbell, the WBC's ruling, the 4-man tournament between Abdulaev, Haney, and Lopez versus Fortuna. And yeah, leave your comments down below. take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just kidding, Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.